Great Tuesday. Welcome to the King Connections podcast. I'm your host, King. And again, I want to welcome back to the King Connections podcast for our part 2 of our interview with Nathaniel Alston. How you doing, Nathaniel? Or Nat, I'm sorry. I call you Nat.
Yeah, I'm doing fine, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Good. Good.
Glad to have you back on part 2 of the show because you're normally going to do a part 2, but your background is so rich and full of just interesting stories and just great wisdom that we wanted to have time to really dissect that and really, get into that. So this is part 2 of our show, and we're going to pick back up from our previous conversation. But before we do, I want to start with every conversation to ask 2 key critical questions, which is number 1, what's your spiritual energy number, being from 0 being life sucks to 10 being life is awesome? Where would you say you're rating that in this moment right now?
Right now, this moment, I'm going to say a 9.
Excellent.
I was able to get in the gym this morning, woke up this morning, got the 2 feet on the ground, health-wise, feeling fine. So I got to say I'm a 9.
Excellent. I love when people say they're a 9 or better. That lets me know that we'll vibrate on the same frequency. We're going to have a great show. And the other question I want to ask you, or have you share, I should say, is tell me something good.
Tell you something good. Well, that's a quick question, but also an awesome question when you say tell you something good. I'd say, hey, connecting with you was something good, that we connected at the Campaign for Humanity and in the process of developing a very positive and energizing and good spiritual led friendship and relationship.
Absolutely. I concur. I feel the same way. It's so wild. I should say interesting, not really wild. I'm a person that's, spiritual, and I definitely believe in alignment in the universe, and I study quantum physics, so I believe definitely in how the quantum things and quantum entanglement works. But what I really find interesting, you don't know this, but it's certain things that I've heard you say, whether it was at the human emergence or whether it was our lunch we had or later at the executive roundtable you had, you say certain things that just really are directly in line, like you're reading from my playbook, like you actually read my playbook and then you read it now. Remember, you're older and you've lived it, and that's what's so interesting to me. Like, for example, we talked about the 7 habits of highly effective people. Again, that's my Bible. Now, a lot of people read that, right? Of course, it's a very popular book. A lot of people have read it through the years, but very few people reference it as one of their favorite books and definitely understand the habits and can remember the habits and actually live the habits. So that was something we were in alignment on. And then you also mentioned about connecting. You said you connect the dots. I said I connect with intent, synergy in that context. And then at the roundtable event, you mentioned the fact that people should read the book, The Spook Who Sat by the Door. And, interesting enough, I patterned my life after that. I saw that movie. And just a quick story, then we get into your story, but just to show you the synergy. I was a wayward youth when I was young, and not wayward in criminal activity, but just not focused, not having direction, not doing my best in school, that type of thing. And it wasn't until I read Malcolm X's autobiography that gave me a focus and gave me purpose. So I read his book, got focused, got centered, went and got my IT certification, and got a job working in corporate government. But at that time, I was really feeling the radical Black pride. So I'm walking through there. I had a cube, and on my cubicle, I had a big map of Africa. I had ankhs and all this stuff in my cube. I just had this anger. I just really wanted to show the world that, I'm Black and I'm proud, and I had that James Brown vibe with me. Then I saw that movie, The Spook Who Sat by the Door, and it changed everything. Now, again, I had the job. I wasn't moving up, but I had the job. But once I watched that movie and realized I'm going to be a revolutionary in my mind first, show the world I'm a revolutionary, I could be that spook who sat by the door. My life changed. I was able to, from that point forward, I took all my revolutionary thoughts inside. I took off my mathematical, be revolutionary so I can help people, not just walk around with pride. And as a result, I was able, my career advanced significantly after that. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to get clearance. They gave me opportunities because I was no longer wearing my, I wasn't wearing my radical side. I was just being my professional technical side and advanced. I never lost my radical side. I kept it inside and I made sure I hired black folks and gave them jobs and
Mm-hmm.
did those things to stay in that lineage. But I just, that's how much that movie and that book really resonated with me and been a huge influence in my life.
I can truly understand that. And, when we were talking about that and I shared that with you, I think all of my career, with probably maybe one or two job opportunities, I was that person. And I really didn't get a hold of the book till probably, I think, or maybe about 30 some odd years ago, maybe when it first came out, really. Um, because I was always one, really, King. When I went in there, I shared with you before, I wanted to make things better, but I always had a vision wherever I was. I wanted to learn as much as I could, but also take things to another level. And many times people were comfortable in their own skin or own position where they were. I was one of those persons similar to you, grew up in that Martin Luther King, Malcolm X area. I'm black and I'm proud, and always wanted to be a better person and take people with me at that same time. So opening up a lot of doors, knocking down a lot of doors. And when I say knocking down a lot of doors, knocking down those doors that were not literally knocking them down, but just my presence was knocking them down. And we were an educator. People observed how I moved and how I reacted and all. And some people were very, very comfortable with that and wanted to really get along in my jet stream and let me take them along. Others really rejected everything that basically I had in there, and they just didn't want to go along with me at all. So, but it's a point where you got to be your own self, be true, know what you want, and be willing to take the risk. And so, back to the book, when we mentioned that, I learned as much as I possibly could in every position that I was in, and each position, what I learned, I moved on to the next position and took that along with me.
Hmm.
So I learned a great deal, at the same time, not compromising who I was. And that was the main thing in there. Sure, you can go into these worlds, but hey, to thine own self be true. And I was learning who I was and who I am each time and each experience. But those experiences made me more, shall I say, aware, more wise, but also more intentional to strive for really what I wanted to accomplish in life. So watching that, reading that book, and then the movie, yeah, by being in positions that I learned how people think, how they walk, how they move people around and all. And I just was a sponge just soaking it all up till I got to a point where I could now implement a lot of those things that I learned and make a difference in people's lives.
You know, again, it's like you're reading from my playbook. That's pretty much the same approach I had,
Mm-hmm.
which was to understand that my purpose was to learn our culture and our history to uplift. Like my
Mm-hmm.
purpose wasn't for me to make money. It was I was going to uplift our people with the knowledge that I was gathering. And so, like you, I was a sponge, and that was such a blessing to have that thought process uh, because I went there just like he was in a movie with no nonsense,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that's one of the things I just really want to talk about as we really begin to shift back in our interview questions. Was that's one of the biggest challenges that people don't realize nowadays is that we have more access to technology, and I love technology. Technology changed my life. Technology
Mm-hmm.
gave me my career, and still continue to give me my career. But technology, I liken to a dog, and if people who have dogs understand this,
Mm-hmm.
a dog is great when everybody else has it, especially when somebody got their dog trained. Is walking right next to him, is paying attention. It looks like a great thing to have that kind of friend. But when you get a dog, you never had one, you haven't been trained. That dog is the worst thing that you're gonna deal with. He's not gonna listen. He's gonna do what he wants to do until you train that dog. And if you don't train a dog, the dog trains you. He gets you walking when he wants you to walk. He leads you. You just react to whatever the dog does, and that's your life. And you walk around with that kind of energy. Technology works the same way.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize that in our pockets we have a phone that's, with the right thinking. It's like having Einstein with you as your partner. They can help you do whatever you want to do in the world and help you think through, plan, strategize. And most people just use it to scroll and look at videos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're not feeding their minds anything intentional. And where I'm going with this is that that's intentional, that people stay distracted and disfocused. So in your life and what you do in your business, what have you done throughout the years to really keep yourself away from that noise of distractions and stay focused on what your goals were as family, career, and just improving yourself and looking out for your people?
Well, I would say this because listening to you, one of the things that I look at it from even my generation being the boomers in there and reaching it at this stage of my life, one of the, and I go back to a phrase, continuous learning. I always wanted to continuously learn new things. And when the technology came on board, and I'm going all the way back now, maybe even 30 years ago with the uh, Xboxes and all the other that stuff in there, I embraced technology.
Mm.
And that was the first thing that you and I connected with too. We've got to have a mindset if it's continuous learning. And hey, I grew up with the old TV, then the car phone and all, and now the cell phone. Now with AI, you've got to get in a mindset of continuously learning new things, be willing to learn new things. Once you learn, accept those new things, being inquiring, have an inquiring mind, have your mind like a sponge. So in order to have that continuous learning, not just embracing technology, I had that continuous learning, as I said, incorporating that spook to set beside the door. I want to learn new things every day. What's new for me to learn? I was never a person that sat in there and said, well, let me do the same thing over and over again for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And unfortunately, a lot of folks in my generation, we were conditioned to say, okay, I'm in here, I'm going to stay here, get that pension, whatever. That was not me. I wanted to learn new things. And here again, you and I are probably aligned in this. When you want to learn new things, when you want to basically embrace technology, it's like I use the analogy, it's like a turtle. Turtle doesn't move until he sticks his neck out. Once he sticks his neck out, he's moving. So I said, yeah, I may not be that rabbit in some cases, but I'm that turtle. I'm moving, but I'm sticking my neck out. And sticking my neck out meaning I had to take risks. Those risks was going to be to a point that when I took that risk, hey, it was one of those things that I would say, yes, I'm learning something new. And when I shared with you early on in my career, being in the law enforcement arena and then getting out of that and moving into corporate America, that was a risk. But I wanted to learn new things and see new things. So it was in the intent of how can I grow and stretch my mind, not being just in a mindset of, okay, I've got a job, it's going to be very secure, it's going to be there for years. No, that was not me. So again, going back to what I said earlier, I think the thread that runs through my life has been to thine own self be true. And I've always wanted to take those risks. Yes, those risks came in with some sacrifices and they weren't, um, I learned, made some mistakes, but I kept on moving. I kept on going and learning new things. So I think now as you said, embracing technology, and now with AI coming in here at a much faster pace, I'm still in that mindset of let me learn something new. And how can I really take those things that I've learned and maybe shared with other people? So that's possibly has been the thread in my life over these long years of be willing to take the risk, be willing to learn new things, be willing to also connect with people like yourself and all and build those relationships and not be stereotyped or put in a box and saying, well, hey, this guy really doesn't know what's happening around here. No, I want to learn new things. And as you said also with even Stephen Covey, being proactive, taking that risk is being proactive, not being reactive, but being pro. You've got to go out there and take those risks out there and accept the challenges that are out there. And I think going back to, and I didn't know this about Stephen Covey early on until I read the book and started really teaching that. And when you start looking at being proactive, be willing to take those risks and be willing to accept those challenges. So I've taken the risk. And from taking those risks, King, I've learned a great deal about various industries, various people, been to various places in the world. But I think it has helped, like you, and helped me to shape who we are now and where we can go.
Absolutely, absolutely. And taking those risks, as you say, like I've taken a risk. I'm currently in right now on a 180-day journey of I look at myself becoming more fully human is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you understand this in math, again, I'm truly a person who believes the energy is everything and everything is energy, as Einstein says. And with that understanding, Dr. David Hawkins came up with a map of consciousness
Mm-hmm.
and it gives a numerical value to different thoughts from scarcity and greed and selfishness at 75 and 50 to love being at 500. And then
Mm-hmm.
Jesus and Buddha operating at 1,000. So that lets you know where people are on the scale. And courage is just 200. That's what most people operate at. And my point I'm making with that is that once you understand that, my goal was I want to raise my energy to 500. So I'm going to do daily acts of kindness to people and be kind as a way. Because I look at myself, I'm in my 50s, I'm in the last quarter of my life. And I want to live it differently than I did the previous 3 quarters. That was the whole point of getting wisdom, and to live differently. And so let me live this last quarter in love and see what it does for me and see what it does for the people around me. And in doing so, I came up with a framework to measure things because I got 10 hours of what I call burst energy every day, where I can be focused 100%. Outside of 10 hours, you're not getting 100% of me. And that's where my balance and, recharge is. So during those 10 hours, I have 8 energy frameworks. You and I talked about this. We talked about the first 4 energies in our previous uh, discussion. And the 8 energies again are physical is number 1, mental number 2, emotional number 3, spiritual number 4, love number 5, wisdom number 6, soul, your essence number 7. Then number 9 is 8 is your generative energy based on all those energies now coming together. And energy 4, number love, is so powerful. And I'm sharing this story. And I'm going to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for the grace. It's so powerful, and I've learned this because now I've created a world where everyone I talk to in my immediate conversations now, we talk about love every time we talk. Right? I talk to you, and you have to be part of an organization called The Answer Is Love. So I've
Mm-hmm.
actually created love all around me in my world on this journey where I'm just seeing it everywhere and everybody's talking about it. And I love that. And to show you the power of love, I was talking to a woman yesterday, and I'm not going to disclose her name, but I'm somebody I'm working with, and folks are going to see. So I want to help her and lift her up. But she has terminal cancer, and she is obviously somebody's been trying to put us together for a while because she's really a phenomenal woman, with a phenomenal story, and she still wants to be of service in her life. And I want to help her get that out there utilizing my platform and my strategies. My point I'll make it is this, though: your physical energy can be drained very low, which hers is. She's dealing with a debilitating disease. She's tired, and then the whole mental. Now your mental is affected by that. That affects your emotions and everything else. But when I began to talk to her on the phone, I watched her state rise. And what rose her state and got her energy and got her leaning into the conversation. I shared to her I went to the Human Campaign for Humanity, and I shared her about AJ's story. Then I mentioned the homeless vet coming in, and I just saw her just start to rise up, hearing the story of that love of what you all did for that homeless vet. And that's what proves to me that love is the answer, because most people, our soul wants to connect to love. It's instinctive. Unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath, you don't have any feelings. But anybody else who's a normal thinking person, you love the energy of love. You want to be loved. You want to feel love. You want to give love. You want to be connected to it. And so I'm just saying all that to say again, that's the impact of your work, of you.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
and through quantum physics, it goes beyond just you. I'm touching other people's lives with your stories. I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, I would say to you, you're right on point. And I would say, because I've said it to people in there, when you mentioned the word love, it took me a while to really even embrace that and understand that. Coming from a broken home, mother and father, I think I shared with you, were divorced when I was 3. But let me fast forward. I met a young lady who eventually became my bride. And I tell her even now, after, and we will be, God willing, if we see together August 15th of this year, we'll celebrate our 55th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
And when I say the double nickel, 55.
Wow.
King, I would say to you, and I say it to her and others, she, along with her family, taught me what love was all about. I didn't have an example in my own family. I had people that were there physically, but in terms of that actually feeling comfortable in the aspect of human love, loving people around, didn't feel that. Being the oldest in there, did not feel that. But after I married my wife, my bride, and really saw the interaction of love that she had with her family, starting with her mom and dad, and her 8 siblings, she made 9, and watch how they interacted and really demonstrated that sibling love. And then when the family came together, that love. So think about it. And when I share that story, all of us, she had 9, and we got married, and each person of her siblings, the older ones, were married. So all of us in-laws, so to speak, would come together and just watch the family dynamics, the love that these siblings had with each other, that they could call and speak. And even when our children were born, their cousins, that same love coming from a family. So it came from my wife's family. And back to your point, then having children of my own, knowing what I didn't have, I wanted to make sure that they had it, both of them, my son and my daughter. And love is an action verb. It's
Right.
action. It's not just sitting there on a shelf. You
Right.
got to show that. You got to show that and show up. So it's not just showing, okay, here I'm going to give you this. No, love is action, and love is feeling and connection. And you feel that vibe. And love, too, back to your point, in terms of the physics of it, it's a positive action,
Right.
not a negative.
Right.
And so you want to be around people that, as you said, give you that love, because the lady that you were talking to, when you share that feeling, it's a action, it's positive, it builds up that positive energy, that positive vibe. You start getting re-energized. And over the years, being married to my bride, that's what we had. And my children, it's the same way. You demonstrate that. You show that. You show that by caring, by the little things. Hey, I love you. My children now, soon my daughter will be in her, we turn 50. My son is 51. They know that we love them. We constantly love them. We show it now to our grandchildren. But again, going back to what you said, when you say love is the answer, it's action and it's positive. People know when you're sincere about it. And I will say to you, I've had a 54 years and several months education course on what love is all about, watching my wife in there, and then knowing what I didn't have, but once my children were born, showing them what I wanted them to have, and actually having them love me. That's the other side of the coin too, having a two-way street, having my son and my daughter saying the same thing, and really knowing that they mean it, and they know that I mean it. When we experience all the ups and downs maybe in their lives and in our lives, we stayed together as a unit. And I was committed to doing that. So I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here till God takes me away. Because as I said to you in the last time, it's not the family that you're born with. It's the family that you create.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blessed to create these 50 plus, soon to be 55 years of a family that I'm overjoyed. When I look at my son that's going to be 52, look at my daughter that's going to be 50, I enjoy and love what we've been blessed to accomplish. And I tell my wife all the time, we are blessed to have two children that we love them and they love us, and the house is filled with love. So you come to our house, there's no negativity there. There's always a positive. Because if you wake up in the morning and you got your 2 feet on the ground and you're blessed and you look around and you said, you know what? We've got two siblings, two children rather, that we absolutely love, and we're passing that on to our grandchildren. So again, back to your point, love is the answer. Love is positive. Love is an action verb. And without it, hey, you don't have anything. And I would say this, and it may be somewhat critical. I truly make it my business to be around people that show and demonstrate what love is all about. I'm serious. Yeah, because it's the point where I want to be around positive people who now love themselves. I love the where I am right now. You gotta, maybe it's a little selfish. I gotta love me, but love also my family, and I want to be around people that understand what love is all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, as you say that, again, that's where we're in alignment right there. And see, that's the thing, you know, the engineer in me always has to create frameworks for me to understand something, for me to move on something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even within the thinking of the map of consciousness and the love, I realize there's love action thoughts that you have, that's frequency. Then there's love as the action, as you said. So you can have, I mean, I'm sorry, there's the energy that's thoughts, then the energy that's the action. A lot of people will have love thoughts in their heads because it's part of who we are as a natural being. But then they want to apply love action, you know, and that's where, to your point, when you do find people who do, that's what makes it so special. And I think that was done intentionally. It's like you got to be able to see the contrast, because you don't appreciate the light until you've been in the darkness. If all you ever see is light every day, you just take it for granted. But once you've been in darkness and you see the light, then you appreciate that light. And love is that feeling. And so here's so, to your point, and we tie this into even the business world, that love is so powerful that just the idea of when I tell people a story, like I was sharing her your story, and I told it in such a way that I took my time with it intentionally. I just didn't make the long story short.
Mm-hmm.
I made the love story good, right? But I watched her, and what I'm going with this is her natural kind inclination is to hope for the ending that's the best possible. So she's listened to every word, and she's hoping as I get to it that the ending is great.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling her, okay, because I'm gonna give you, here's a homeless man coming into this facility, the faith he has to have, where he is feeling right now with his connection to God to say, God help me. And I'm gonna walk into this Columbia 50 plus center and see what happens. And it so happens there's a conference going on about love. I mean, who could have scripted a better situation than him to walk
Absolutely.
into? You
You're
know
right.
what I mean?
You're right.
So, I mean,
You are so right.
if that's not a direct message from God, what is,
Oh,
right?
and to add to it, we talk about that. We talked about it, demonstrated on the campaign, and guess what? We got tested right then and there.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, we many people would say, "Yeah, okay, you had this campaign for humanity. You talked about love is the answer. Here comes the test now. What are you going to do?"
Right.
And nobody really knew. We didn't script this at all, King. We had no idea at all that this person was going to come into that 50 plus center and really globally put us to the test. Okay, guess what? You talk a good game. Now, what are you going to do? And I can share with you, we have wrapped our arms around this gentleman, and here it is, over a month later. He has found a place to live. He is now getting the care that he wants, that he needs. And we have wrapped our arms around him, shared with him other resources that are out there, all under the umbrella of love. And now it's a whole, we're basically changing this person's life. But back to your point, we again, yes, we can talk about it. Yes, you talk a good game, but what happens now when you got to do the good game? You got a test coming in. And again, the positive of it, and also, if I can mention the humor of it, we got tested. Talk is cheap. Let's talk the walk. Let's walk the talk. You got
Absolutely.
it. Here we are. Yeah, and we again, we could not have scripted this even if we tried. For that gentleman to come in at that time, at that place, it was not us. It was somebody of a higher power.
And see, when I tell that story, I always end the story with this question here. How many times in your life have you ever heard someone tell you a story where a homeless man's life was changed? Not not helped, gave him a dinner, not gave him some clothes, the band-aids, and they're nice, and the band-aids in there
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
actually changed the homeless person's life.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So you don't hear those stories. I've never heard it before, right? That's not being shared. But my point is, if you put love into together like you all did in a tribe, and you, what I'm adding to that now is you remove the construct of worrying about racism from
Mm-hmm,
your mind, right?
mm-hmm.
That's why I say dissolve the racial construct. It gives you back 50% of your creative liberation to just do and act. And when you have that energy and you do that, that's what you produce. And then here's the beautiful thing about it, as we're discussing. You don't just do that for him and then that's just done. And you just say, okay, well, I just have to deal with the good feelings of it. It's a story that impacts so many other people. Now everybody wants to be a part of telling that story, and then they want to be around people who do that. So now you bring that to the business world and you send, okay, well, now we're going to do business and I'm building real estate and I'm buying real estate to put people in houses. Wouldn't you want to do business with a real estate agent who operates off love, and a lender who operates off love, and contractors who operate off love? And just that whole process would then be that much more fulfilling. But instead, we do the opposite. Everything's transactional. I just want to get your thoughts
Mhm.
about how you integrate love into business. Is where I'm. My next
Yeah,
question.
and you got it on the right point when you were there at our business roundtable. That's the theme that we really want to bring in. Love is the answer. We help each other to grow the connections that we have in there. And I encourage that. I said, okay, folks, we've got a business roundtable. It's a circle. You look at each other. How can I help you to do what you're doing to maybe get to your point at the same time it's helping me? But having that connection, having that expertise, you're bringing a perspective that I didn't think about. You're bringing a perspective that someone else in that round table didn't think about. Or when we met out, the young lady in here was a Gen Zer. She started giving some insights for her age group she's around 26, 27. But she understood and felt comfortable enough to express that. And I hope that people who listen to her can say, well, wait a minute. That's information that I need, but let me take it a little bit further. If I'm listening to her, let me get to know her better because she's coming in there with a positive attitude and things that I can learn. And let's develop that relationship that it's a positive relationship where not just I'm taking, but I'm also giving and vice versa. And that's that. As you said, how do we put love into business? How do we put that social connection, that action into business and not just take it, well, okay, it's dollars and cents, let me move on. That's the thing now that I see working, building those relationships with you and others that I've connected with and say, okay, what can we do now to make sure that love is the answer in our business, take it to the next level where we can support each other. So as you said with the lady now that is going through cancer, you met with her, share with the love, and guess what? The more you share, the more energized she becomes. The more it resonates throughout her entire body. Her mind starts to even not think about her conditions that she's in now, but she's thinking now on a much higher plane because the brain now is building up all those positive vibes, and she's saying, wow, I still have a purpose. I still can think and move to the next level. I'm sure I'm got the physical ailments, but my mind now, as you mentioned, is taking over because I've got the positive vibes from you. You have energized me. You have really instilled in my mind some more positive energy for me to move to that next level. Same thing I'm saying in a different vein in our business connections. The more we share, the more we come in there genuine, the positivity in that, the more we elevate each other to open up our minds to different things and accept positive influences such as yourself to make our world, their world, a better world. So that's part of that when we talk about our business roundtable. Yes.
That's what's powerful, and the way you summed that up and tied it back to her. So that's you and I see that in the same manner. And when I say strategy plus connections plus systems plus value, connections down, that's the key part of that. Is who you're doing business with, right? It's like, for example, and I'm making this challenge to people, and I'm doing this now in my business because I learned this. You give me $20 in AI and my systems that I'm building in 6 months, and I'll battle a person with $10,000 in his plan in 6 months. We'll see who both generates the most money in 6 months. And I feel I will out generate him because I will move with the energy of love. And I'm going to have exponential growth over if he's just moving off tactics and strategy and transactions. So I wanted to put that to the test because I believe that's so important for people to see this. And this is what I wanted to really highlight you because, and I'm sure you're aware of this, you're rare in today's world. A Black older man who has been accomplished, who's bringing wisdom, who's talking love and not bitter hatred. And then you also have a business mind that can help guide people. That's really a rarity in what we see. That's not something we don't get the knowledge and the wisdom from the elder black men in our generation. We can't take that for granted when we find folks like yourself, particularly who also believe in love as well. So you see the importance of that.
Yeah, yeah,
So now
absolutely.
my question.
And if I may chime in just a little bit, because when you were talking, I was thinking about also where the location where we meet. That's full of love.
Yeah, talk about that.
That
Absolutely.
that is full of love in there. And when I first decided that this is where we're going to be, and I met the husband and the wife there, and I started going back, not just for our business roundtable meeting, but other meetings. And I kept looking at the observation of the workforce that they had. And I started seeing now, and what really struck me, and I don't know if you had the opportunity to see it, but one of the employees there, who's the general manager, has a little baby. And the owners of the restaurant have really become their adopted parents, but they allow that child to come into that room, into that restaurant. And now that's their godmother and godfather. And I started looking at that and just making the observations. The different types of people were there, different ethnic groups. And being a human capitalist as I am, I started really examining again, going back to what we talk about love, going back to talk about that whole positive energy, and looking at the different people who were there, their ages, their ethnicity. And the thread that's running through there, I started seeing that they're happy, they're joyful. And I'm approaching, I said to the owner, you've created an atmosphere of nothing but love. They don't mind coming to work, a smile on their face. They're interacting, different age groups, different ethnicities, different backgrounds and all. And they've created a family of people who are their workers, but they love what they're doing and doing what they love. And the only place, the thing that really gets me, the establishment is only 2 years old. But the owners came in there with a concept. Yes, they've got the business, but they're going to hire the right people who are not maybe even now the non-right people, but they're going to hire the people and create a culture. And I tell them all the time, you have created a positive culture that even with the employees that are working there, who are having their own individual struggles, have come to your place, and it's a love sanctuary. They're working in a restaurant, but it is a love sanctuary. The smiles, the faces are there. And when I can see a little baby who is now 7 months old, who is now basically that she can bring that child to work, knowing that the owners, husband and wife owners, are taking that little child and adopting her as their grandbaby or godchild, whatever. That to me, again, going back to what I said earlier, that's love put into action. And the other people see it, they enjoy it, and it becomes a safe place for not just the people coming in there to eat, but to the employees. It becomes an extended family. And that extended family, I've asked them, I said, how did you create that? He said, it's all starting with you love the person. So that's what you're seeing even in our roundtable. We're in an environment that breathes the same thing. This is love. So, when you tell me if a business can't operate with love, I can show you the restaurant that we meet in every third Friday. I tease them, I say, you should even call it the love restaurant in terms of what the brand name is. But you walk in there and immediately you feel the love that's there.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, another broken egg. That's in Colombia. It's a powerful
Yeah, we got to
place.
give them a plug. Another broken egg in Colombia. Yeah, thank you, King, for
Yeah,
plug. You got to
absolutely.
plug it. Yes.
Absolutely. Highly recommend people go there. You'll love it. Is everything he's just described. Absolutely. But I want to ask you this question
Sure.
from the context of your human resources management background and leadership background. What would you say is the best way for these mid-tier companies with maybe 20 plus employees that's migrating to that kind of structure, and they want to institute a culture of love that you talked about? What are some of the best ways they could do that in their hiring practices and the employees engagement? What do you suggest ways they can integrate that?
Well, depending on the industry in there, but the bottom line, you can teach people skills. You can teach them that. But really, you want to find out, and I always said this when I was doing some consulting work with another company. You ask that person, if that was you, King, I ask you, what's your core values? What's your core values as a human being? And does that match up with our core values as a company?
Hmm.
And because you've got understand this, and I learned this way, way, way back. Employees really are the reasons why we're here. And you've got to find the person, that employee that looks at a customer coming in or a fellow employee as a human being, and that they've got the same core values that you have. So I go back to what I said in the beginning of your question. Determining what's your core values. And love has got to be in there. And the companies that have been successful that I've not been associated with, but I've had companies that I have been, they've looked at those core values as the strength in terms of hiring. I'll give you one example out there that really I would tell you really shaped my career and put it in perspective. And that was Marriott Corporation. And I'll give a shout out to Marriott because what they shared with me and showed me really was the core of my entire, after that, human resources life. One of the things that they use a cliche that, and they believe in that, they would say to you in the hotel division, sales and marketing get you into the hotel the first time, but housekeeping brings you back.
Wow.
And they said that as a core value. And I said, what do you really mean? And when I got hired by Marriott, they put me through the training program. And the training program was at a hotel. And I went through every department: housekeeping, food, beverage, sales and marketing, and all. And the other thing that I found out too, that they said, that they questioned me: who's the most important person in the restaurant? And people would say the chef, whatever. No, they said the dishwasher.
Hmm.
And that struck me, like you said, going back to even that spook that sat beside the door. When you're the core values, when you're at that door and you're the housekeeper and you're the dishwasher, and if I put you as just as important as the chef or that general manager, that's a core value. That's a major core value to me. I value, in the sense, what we would perceive as the least of us. I turn you around and say, no, you're the most of us. That's the core value that, going back to human resources, what your question was, that stayed with me. Hey, where's the housekeeping? So that person coming in there, being hired for the least job, I've got to give them the core values of an interview if I was hiring them as a general manager. That's the core values of a company. And there are companies out there that look at that as a core value. The person, not just the business aspect of it, but the companies that have survived. And I throw a couple of them in this area here. the Wegmans, the Costco's, and others out there that look at that employee as the reason why if we take care of the employee takes care of the customer.
Hmm.
So that's the core value. If I love that, hire the right person and show that person that I care. And care means, hey, I gotta love you. It may not be in the pure sense of that high level of, but I care about you enough as a human being. I love you as enough as a human being that here's what I want you to make sure happens in your life. That I care about your family, I care about who you are, I care about your growth, and I want to see you move on. So that has stayed with me. I share that with companies that I coach, share that with companies that I deal with. What are your core values as it relates to your employees? And if you take care of your employees, they take care of the customers. Where's your housekeeper and where's your dishwasher? Where's the emphasis put on that? The person that's cleaning up the place, that janitor, do you take care of him or her? Do you give that person respect? Do you give that person the love and the attention? And there's examples out there that I've picked up on that people have demonstrated that. And people know now that, hey, if I care about that dishwasher or if I care about that housekeeper, they're going to care about me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what you convey that, your presence. And that's why I think it's important that people need to get your wisdom. So let's talk a bit about what your company does and the service you provide.
Well, what we've done, we call ourselves, my company is the Horizons Group and Nat Alston. We look at human capital. And when I say human capital, that's the people aspect of it. And what we do and what I've evolved into now, I'm seeing more and more with our roundtable, for an example. I do business coaching, helping people now. And when I say business coaching, executives that are in that C-suite, that are looking like you and I, how they can be effective and really reach their full potential. I do executive search in there. I'm finding out also that people are interested in starting nonprofit organizations, so I will help them to recruit people who are definitely in the nonprofit mindset of helping organizations to grow and helping organizations to thrive. And then also my company, I'm on a personal level too, I want to, with the creation of our business roundtable, help people move and reach their full potential in the area of coaching, the area of career counseling, and also in the area of business development. So it's the area that I'm really looking at now when you talk about my business is more into helping people to become leaders, and you and I become servant leaders. Serve whomever we can and make a difference whatever we touch. So that's the business that I'm in now, is human capital development, whatever it may mean, whatever it may show up. As far as our business roundtable, we're in our 20th year. I created that because I wanted to see our business owners reach their full potential. And then when they reach their full potential, also give back and then help somebody and create that roundtable where we can operate like Kwanzaa, cooperative economics, each of us helping each other. So that's what I've learned over the years, and I've been fortunate to reach a good age where I can pass that wisdom on and say to folks, look, again, what I said about the family, the organization, yes, but when you put your hand in there, you want to leave it better than it was when you first entered into it. So the idea of whatever I touch, I want to make it better and make it last. And that's what I've done in my career and with my business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's powerful. You and I got a lot of alignment in that space. And that's really what the purpose of the show is. I want to highlight people like yourself who I coin as being fully human, not a term that you necessarily call yourself, but I say that, and because that's the movement I'm building, and people who I see who lead with love, and people who have gotten to the point where they have destroyed the racial construct. It's not a post-racial world. I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist. It's saying that we don't allow it to exist in our world. It's not going to control how
Mm-hmm.
we behave in our lives, because that
That's
gives
true.
us our ability to be, I call it creative liberation. See, when you
Mm.
can move with the understanding that we have nothing stopping us from completing this goal because we're that committed and we're going to bring love, that's a different mindset than people feel, well, we're going to run this roadblock and these ones try to stop us. I mean, think about our ancestors. Uh, you talk about George Washington, no, Booker T. Washington, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people this story all the time, that he was building Tuskegee, and they would not send him bricks because they knew that he was building a college, and a black
Mm-hmm.
college. And he said, "Well, we're going to build our own bricks. We're going to create our own bricks." Who does that? I mean, that's that level of commitment to purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
we've lost that, right? So that's what I
I
believe that I
love
want
what
to.
you just said, that commitment to purpose. Yes.
Like you know, like the river doesn't let rocks stop it; it flows around those rocks. That's how,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's how you have to be committed. And if you are, you can achieve those goals. So, as we close out, I want you to give us some prophetic wisdom that you want to leave with our listening audience, who are particularly business people, and how they should pretty much move their lives, their companies, whatever you feel your spirit to share. You can take it in that
Mm.
direction.
Well, I'll say this first that came into my mind. To thine own self be true. It's not what you have before, but what you can create. And what I also thought too is a Chinese proverb: the wise old owl sat in the oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why can't we be like that wise old bird? Also, take in mind the 7 habits. 1, be proactive. 2, begin with an end in mind. 3, put first things first. 4, think win-win. 5, seek to understand, then to be understood. 6, synergize. And number 7, sharpen that saw.
Absolutely.
That's what we're talking about in terms of life. I'll end it
Absolutely.
there, my brother. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for having me part of your family. And what you got in here, the chief value creator. That's what we're talking about doing. Creating value. Each of us have that value. We mean something. We are here. You count, meaning you mean something. Now count. Do something. Put it in action. And when you put it in action, make sure that love is in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And share your contact information with our listening audience before we depart. How they can get in contact with you, those who want to follow up with you.
If they want to follow up on me, they can reach me by telephone, and that's 301 437 6758. And my website is very easy: Nat Alston, ALSTON.com. They can reach me there on our website.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Nat. Appreciate you for joining our show, bringing your love, energy to the show, your wisdom to the show, and just your overall essence to the show. And thank you, listening audience, for listening to another episode of King Connections Podcast. Until our next episode, let's all keep connecting with intent. Thank you.